First of all, Rebecca and her staff are here, as well as the chief and Gary. Hopefully, one or more of them can comment. So the first question, do you believe you've talked to a representative group of people who live on or very near the border? I imagine that might go to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Congressman. We did talk to 13 ranchers in the Tucson sector, and this was not a generalizable sample of ranchers. So we talked to that group, but it was not intended to be a generalizable sample of individuals who live near or on the border.
The second question is, the report mentions that 6 of the 13 ranchers interviewed wanted more border patrol close to the border. What did the others say?
We heard different perspectives from the 13 ranchers that we spoke with. So we heard 6 ranchers, I think, definitively say that they would like to see the Border Patrol deploy closer to the border, so that's why we included that information. They shared a variety of perspectives with us while we were on the border, and we again appreciated their input into the review.
The next question, why isn't illegal activity stopped at the point of occurrence with the Border Patrol on the border? Chief, could you speak to that?
Thank you, Congressman. I had a media interview earlier and the same question was brought up. But when we look from a Border Patrol perspective, when we look at the entire border, we have to take into consideration different things. One of the main things that we look at is the terrain. As Gary mentioned, that a fence will not work throughout these 262 miles that we have in the Tucson sector. The same thing goes for tactics. And tactics is how we deploy the agents. For example, downtown Douglas, downtown Nogales, you have to have the agents right there on the border, because if an incursion happens, that incursion, whatever it is, if it's narcotics, illegal immigrant, they assimilate into the population very quickly. So we don't have a lot of response time. Okay, as we move further into the flanks, we have the mountains coming, which many a times you do not have access, not necessarily restricted access, but you cannot drive a vehicle. In many places, you cannot ride a horse to the border area in these mountainous areas. So in those cases, we have to look for what we call the point of tactical advantage. Where does that traffic come out at? Where are we in a better position to be able to interdict that traffic? So the tactics change according to your environment and according to the threat. Thank you.
One second. Illegals can get through there. They can access it, but the Border Patrol can't get to that spot.
If we're talking about the mountainous terrain, yes, the traffic is crossing through there, but to respond to that traffic, an agent, or I would venture anybody here, cannot walk up those mountains in 10 minutes to be able to make a successful interdiction. So a lot of times you have to work at where you have a better advantage in interdicting that traffic.
Well, perhaps, let me speak for my expertise. My family owns the Rogers Ranch and the Rocker M Ranch, which is just east of Douglas. D Hill, on out to about Mont Rocker, 10 and a half. So those mountains that you speak of largely lie right there on family land. Y'all have a beautiful road built right there. When Chertoff signed off on that fence, you have a fantastic road there on which to ride along, drive along, drag tires along, get off of Geronimo Trail. When I ride into town every morning, all the agents are facing north. Facing north. So are they, what? Those are the turnbacks that they're catching, or are they just watching them go by them? Or are they playing highway patrol because they continuously pull me over? And we can speak about that later. I've got quite a bit of video to show somebody that would be interested in at seeing exactly how the Border Patrol are being deployed along the highway. I live much closer than this 25-mile ridiculous thing. And you know, when you extrapolate 25 miles, it gets harder and harder and harder to find somebody. Not just in a town situation, but if you play any football, if you control the ball at the line of scrimmage, you win the game. If you cannot move the ball past the line of scrimmage, you win 100% of the time. But you don't put defensive ends in the end zone expecting them to get all the way there. It astounds me to go to the airport and see Border Patrol agents at the airport. That's conceding defeat. To have a checkpoint permanently 70 miles north of the border is ridiculous. Those agents should be deployed. It's boots on the line. I rarely ever see a Border Patrol vehicle on the line.
So I'm going to go on and ask the question, but I think, Chief, you or your staff would be happy to meet with the gentleman and talk about some of the specifics that he's mentioned after the meeting. But let me make sure we get all our questions in tonight. The next question, in addition to agent work,